So Mia is being cross-examined now by defense attorney Brian Steele, and on the Diddy defense team. And I wanted to get on here because I put a video up early talking about yesterday, which was day 11, I believe, Thursday. Today's Friday, third week of this wrapping up. And I'm telling you now, Mia's testimony now and the cross-examination is coming at her hard. Steele's coming at her. And I want to go ahead and take a look at some of from Inner City Press. You know, they're keeping an eye on this. They're doing up to the second reporting on this and tweeting, tweeting, whatever. But anyway, I want to get into some of this and look at this, how this comes off and what they're trying to, the picture they're trying to paint of her as a witness to this, right? So let's see. You've got cross-examination, Brian Steele. Because of Sean Combs, you suffer a great deal, right? Mia, right. Just seeing him call your number made you throw your phone. True? True, Mia says. He made you do that thing. He made you do things that are unthinkable. And she says, yes. Making you sleep in a room with a lock and coming in, violating you in the most unthinkable way. True? She says, true. You said that Sean Combs' conduct was the worst thing that ever happened to you, right? And she says, yes. And then Steele directs her to look at the notebook. And, you know, I moved for admission of 1702 to 1710. These are under seal. Whatever the court says. We have redacted versions. Mia, this is a social media post by you in 2013. Yes, she confirms. It's your personal account. This is what you were doing? She says, yes, my personal account. You wrote, this is what we do when you are not around. I am Diddy, Ciroc. Right? And she says, yes, she admits this, right? You tagged him years after you say he graped you, right? She says, yes. This is July 4th, 2013. Whose hands are those? She says, Cass and me. And Steele says, you wrote Rich as F-U-C-K and CC. Who is CC? And she says, Cass. What does CC stand for? And Mia says, it's just a nickname. Have you heard Cassie Combs, maybe? She goes, oh, that makes sense. Duh. Here you say, see, right there, that's a lie. Like, she doesn't know what it says. She knew. Here you say he got coffee for you, though, in Forbes list. Yes. You say he made you take drugs against your will at Burning Man, but you post about it. And she says, right. And he says, you posted a picture with him, a man terrorizing you? And she says, yes. And this video depicting Mr. Combs as a doctor delivering your baby? She says, it was a funny video. I was proud to be in it. Steele, Mr. Combs' birthday is significant to you, too. You did do 2 shots with him, right? And she says, yes. And Steele says, alcohol overcame you, right? She says, yes. And he says, you believe you were drugged? And she said, I didn't say that. And then Steele, a person you really don't know put his mouth on your mouth without your permission, right? She says, yes. His hands up your dress and onto your person. Remember that? It was paralyzing. She says, yes. You wake up in a chair and you told the jury that. She says, I did. But this message and this one, another day, another same day posting, the anniversary of you being sexually assaulted by Sean Combs, according to your testimony, I didn't celebrate it as the anniversary of that, but his birthday. So right there, I just want to stop right there. They're basically pointing out that you're texting and posting things online about to Diddy directly, right? And I guess to your social media audience, whatever, on the day that you were so-called assaulted, the most traumatic day of your life, all that stuff, you're like celebrating his birthday. So in other words, Steele points out the fact that, look, you're posting that on the anniversary of the day that you were assaulted, you were raped. And she's like, yeah, but I wasn't celebrating that. I was celebrating his birthday. Okay, so if you were that traumatized, okay, you're that traumatized, again, just to be, for the people who are just all up in their, you know, get their panties in a bunch and want to be easily triggered, okay, gaslight lit, whatever, okay, just remember something. Totally possible that he violated this woman. Totally possible. I'm just pointing out where the defense is going with this, and what to me is a reasonable strategy is pointing out the fact that how is it that you were traumatized so much on that day by this man, and yet you seem to gush over him in numerous posts, online posts for everyone to see, and in your personal text. You're saying things. It's like that day would trigger so much emotion for you, you'd probably take a social media break, a fast from social media. The last thing you'd be doing is celebrating this dude. I could see, even if you didn't take the social media fast, if that day was so traumatizing for you and you were home wrapped under blankets and having soup with mommy or your friends, okay, with Cassie herself, and you were like just reflecting on how bad that night was for you, or that day, and the memory that that is triggered for you on that particular anniversary 1 year later, whenever it was, like, you would not be posting about it. I'm going to continue, right? Because there's more to it, right? What did you write? Let's see. But this message and this one, another day, same posting. Okay, what did you write? She wrote, "Thank you for giving me an extended family for life. You're effing funny. I love you." And Steele says, "You're in a tutu next to Mr. Combs, right?" She says, "Yes." And he's holding his private parts in his hands. And she goes, "I guess so. I guess so." It's a clear answer. You know what the picture is and what he's doing. Combs, you were proud of Mr. Sean Combs? Mia, of course. You'd post to great times. Steele, you wrote extended family for life. You are forever one of my great fans. This is about the man who traumatized you. And she admits, yes, I wrote that. Again, how are you writing that? And don't tell me, don't get in my comments or come to me and try to make the argument that, well, she had to say that. She was forced to say it. Kind of like you're trying to suggest, or people have suggested, that Cassie needed to write personal text saying, "I can't wait for our freak offs. I'm always ready to freak off." She was only doing that to appease her tormentor, correct? This is nonsense, because this is years later and she's still very much part of Puff's Diddy's life, and she's saying things here. You did a collage, a lot of them. Are you and Mr. Combs, you picked out the thumbnails, right? And she says, right. What did you write? Who let me have my hair like that? And Steele, you are with Mr. Combs, right? She says, yes. Here you say, look at Ma, I'm on a billboard in Times Square, right? And Mia says, it's a play on My Name Is in Lights. And Steele says, and in this photo? She goes, it's me and Cass going to Istanbul. Did Mr. Combs have to approve both of you going on that trip? She says, absolutely. And then Steele says, what about in this photo? We are in a Sprinter van on the way to Cass's club appearance. And where are you in this one? The W Hotel in Istanbul. What did you write here? And she goes, about Muhammad Ali's birthday with Puff. I took the photo. And Steele says, you took one photo? And she says, I'm sure I took multiple, but this was the best one. Steele, this is November 4th, 5 years after you were sexually assaulted. And she says, yes. What did you write? And she wrote, thank you for being my friend. Hashtag happy birthday, Diddy. Hashtag I'm so hot, I'm throwing panties at myself. I'm sorry, this does not come off. The whole witness thing, which I mentioned in my video earlier about, and everyone said the same thing about how Mia's testimony breaking down in tears, and her friends in the courtroom breaking down in tears and whatever, and how traumatized she seemed on the stand, how delicate she was, and her words barely coming out, and how it was tough for her to really get the words out. This goes against that. This is a win for the defense as far as I'm concerned. We'll see how this all plays out, and we'll see what the analysis is from every lawyer expert on YouTube and non-lawyers and whatever. We'll see what they say about this. But to me, this totally is this is a win for the Diddy team. Okay, Combs, Mia, you have said you were sexually assaulted so many times you can't remember, and then they objected to that, misstates the testimony, and judge sustained that obviously. Have you met with the prosecutors? She says, yes. And he said, more than 27 times? She goes, I don't know the number. Do you remember telling you don't remember how many times you were sexually assaulted? I don't know if I phrased it that way. And then he says, this has ruined you, right? You are broken, yes? And she goes, yes, the sexual abuse was part of the way he ruined me. Yes. And then still, you wrote, thank you for being the kind of crazy, the good kind of crazy, inspiring me every day. Then she says, I don't think people wrote bad stuff about their life on Instagram back then. And he says, why'd you promote it? And she goes, it was my job to promote it. It was a cycle of ups and downs. Mia, when he was calling me his best friend, I wasn't afraid of him. And then Steele says, you weren't afraid of the man who stole your innocence? And then, of course, if that was objected, it was overruled. You have family? She goes, parents, a sister, and friends. And then the prosecution is like, well, what's the time frame we're talking about? And Steele says, when you posted this, you still had a friend. And she says, I had no sounding board. I had to get permission to go to my grandfather's funeral. The jury was in an email, blah, blah, blah. Let's get my friends at, what's this? Oh, that's my friends at Funny or Die. I'm in the video. And what did you write? You know you are a celebrity when you are spraying champagne at Funny or Die. And Steele says, what is this? And she goes, my birthday post for Justin, Puff's son. And this one? Ciroc promo, hashtag, Steele, you were in it with Mr. Combs? She goes, yes. Do you ever say anything that Mr. Combs violated? She goes, never. And he goes, here? And she goes, that's Puffy and Jimmy Iovine, legends. And Steele says, he traumatized you? And she says, yes, again. And that's where we're at so far. That was 21 minutes ago, so I think there might be some more. But I wanted to jump on here and talk about this because this is damning for the prosecution. This witness yesterday was a star witness. It was supposed to be even more telling and than Cassie was. This is supposed to be more of a nail in the coffin than Cassie's testimony was. This is this employee, who, again, this speaks more to whatever case they're building on the racketeering, RICO thing, trafficking and all that stuff. This would be more in that line because she's an employee. She worked for the enterprise, or the man, as, Sean King Combs, right? Sean Diddy Combs. And all her testimony about he sexually assaulted her numerous times in the working conditions that she was working under, and yet she maintained a friendship and a relationship that was quite playful, quite flirty, and as far as I'm concerned, this damns everything that she said. I've stated it before. I said it earlier today. There's opportunists involved in all of this. These are opportunists. These are people who wanted to hold on to that lifestyle, who wanted to hold on to the flights to Istanbul and Dubai and to all these different wonderful places that they normally wouldn't have gone on their own if they were not working for Bad Boy, working for a mogul like Diddy. Again, not excusing Diddy, not excusing his behavior, not saying he's a great guy. I don't care about Diddy. I'm making the case that we cannot just automatically assume that every woman who somehow crossed Diddy's path was a victim and had no responsibility of her own. There's no opportunist out there. There's no gold diggers in the world. There's no gold diggers in the greatest city, my city, New York City, wanting to get into the entertainment industry, wanting to align themselves with a billionaire mogul, the fashion icon, liquor brand icon, music icon. No female ever thought about the opportunities that could await them and the sacrifices they might have to make and the deals they might have to do with the devil. They never thought about any of that. They're all just victims. They're all hypnotized early on and then threatened to be killed, and their families are going to be wiped out if they continue to work under these conditions. That's what we're supposed to believe. I don't believe it. If you want to go, again, I'll say it, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. You want to tell me that Cassie, at 19 years old, met a mogul and she wasn't a freak to begin with and she didn't have the capacity to be one, and she just happened to be a young lady who was hypnotized and drugged and then beaten into submission, and everything she did for the next 10, 11 years, including get with other celebrities and cheat behind his back and have burner phones, she did all that because she was hypnotized by Diddy and she could never get away. You go ahead and say that. Save that one. Time to talk. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this and what you think of this Mia testimony. Does this change your mind, what you're hearing today? We'll see where this all goes. I'll do another wrap up possibly later, hopefully. Let me know in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe if you've not subscribed yet. We're going to get into it, and I'll see you on the next Time to Talk. Peace.